Hello, everybody. So I've just been watching this Sabine Hossenfelder video all about warp drives and the possibility of warp drives, and she was going through, I think, quite eruditely, the various reasons why we are pretty unlikely, actually, to come up with a system of propulsion that can lead us to being able to travel faster than the speed of light. And I thought I'd give sort of my own take on this in light of the sort of research that I've been doing in my spare time on quantum gravity, because my idea when it comes to quantum gravity is that space doesn't curve. It's that space is formed of electrons that tunnel and exist for very short periods of time in space and exert a force of attraction over other particles in space, and that the space-time, if you like, is very grainy as a result of this, and that you do get these quanta of space which have an ultimate sort of manifestation as a particle, which is the electron, and they exchange other particles, i.e. gauge bosons, with other particles in space. So I don't believe that a true warp drive is actually possible at all. I don't believe there's any way of bending the space-time continuum around the ship and then having that ship be propelled through space. I certainly don't think it's possible for a ship to travel faster than the speed of light. But then again, whenever someone says something's not possible, right, it's always the first step on the road to that person being proven wrong, isn't it? And that some clever clogs in the future will undoubtedly come up with a means of disproving that sort of statement, and will come up with, a way of possibly traveling faster than the speed of light. And I looked into other things like this Juan Maldacena ER equals EPR stuff, in terms of the creation of wormholes and the possibility of entangling black holes and creating Einstein-Rosen bridges that sort of correspond. And this seems to be like probably the more promising avenue for faster than light communication or faster than light travel. However, even with that, there are major drawbacks with it that make the whole thing seem at least very difficult, I'd have said, if not impossible. And ER equals EPR is not theory in science at all, really. It is conjecture more than anything else. It is really a rather fringe idea, and really something it's on the fringes of string theory research. So it's within the field of theoretical physics research, i.e. string theory stuff, which is already very out there. And it's on the fringes of that, basically. So it's somewhat a little bit crazy, I think. But I absolutely believe in things like EM drives. I can definitely see how we could possibly build one of those that could take us up to speeds near the speed of light. I certainly see how that might be possible. And maybe that sort of thing will happen in the future. That seems to me to be more of a promising candidate, I think, for something that could take us towards the speed of light. Or maybe in the future, we will really develop a means of being able to quantumly tunnel classical masses and direct their tunneling such that we can sort of orient their location in space to where they tunnel to. I don't know. I think for various reasons that might be rather problematic. But then again, that sort of depends on ER equals EPR being correct or not. So I think look, the major evidence, I think, that faster than light travel is not possible is due to the likelihood that somewhere else in the universe if not in the galaxy, certainly in the universe, there will be another civilization somewhere. And there will be another advanced civilization somewhere. I'm pretty certain of that. And I'm pretty certain also that if such devices were possible, they would have been developed elsewhere in the universe at some point by some being, by some form of life, and they'd have traveled here for better or worse, to either share their technology with us peacefully or to eradicate us and colonize our planet. And the fact that that hasn't happened sort of it demonstrates to me, I think, that it probably is not possible to travel faster than light. And if we want to take seriously the prospect of engaging in interstellar space travel, I think we'll need to look into things like the cryo freezing of people and this sort of stuff, and taking a very slow approach to it and a very gradual approach to moving out into the rest of the universe. And I don't think we'll be zipping off anytime soon at speeds faster than the speed of light. To put a not too fine a point on it. And I was also thinking the other day about the reality of UFOs. And I've met one or two people in my life who they're really big UFO people. And you hear of these former US Navy pilots on, for instance, the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, talking about being in a plane, in a fighter plane, several thousand feet up and so on, and they just sort of see this blip on their radar, and there's this thing like by them that just accelerates to speeds that they'd never seen before. And when people hear all these sort of anecdotal accounts, I think it is very tempting for people to think, well, that must be little green men. That must be aliens, surely. But I think I know what that is for real. I doubt that's aliens. What that probably is, I'm sorry to have to say, is probably a US military black project. If you see what I mean, in something like hypersonics. And if you start pulling that thread, that hypersonics thread, that's really, really interesting stuff. So when I was a kid, I had sort of fighter plane top trumps. And via the top trumps card, I became aware of this thing called the Hypersaw, which is this advanced US Navy or US Air Force or DARPA research project that apparently never really got off the ground. It's supposed to be like a bombing aircraft that could encircle the globe in 2 hours or something, or fly to any location on the planet in 2 hours to deliver a payload. And it's hypersonic, which means it sort of skips along the top of the atmosphere at Mach 11 or something like that. And I've been looking into this more, and you have, for instance, if you Google fastest plane in the world or the fastest plane ever, what the result that you'll probably get is the SR-71 Blackbird, which was built in, I think, 1971 and flies at a top speed of Mach 3.3. But that is not the fastest plane ever. Fastest plane ever, the fastest manned aircraft ever, is the X-51, which was built in the 60s and flew at a speed of Mach 6.7. It was a rocket plane. So, I mean, the people flying that were astronauts, basically. They were sort of credited by NASA as ultimately being astronauts. For like how high they were flying, how fast they were flying. So, that was back in the 60s. So that's, about half a century ago now? Do you, really think it's likely that if they had these sorts of capabilities in terms of technology, that they'd really be telling people about it. We know full well that the governments of the world keep secrets from people. We know this because of things like MK Ultra, and that was kept classified for many, many years, and it ultimately came out. And you know, I don't want this sort of stuff slipping into the hands of foreign powers necessarily. And if you look it up all on Wikipedia, they'll say, "Oh, it got defunded, etc., etc., etc." But I reckon there's quite a few sort of hypersonics programs out there that people have never heard of. And when it comes to UFOs, yeah, you do hear of all these sort of reports like Roswell, New Mexico, and sort of these strange-looking craft just sort of appearing out of nowhere, then just zipping into a hangar or something on an Air Force base. And yeah, I reckon a lot of that stuff, all these planes, all these craft exhibiting wild accelerations, yeah, it's probably just hypersonics from a US research department. It's very, very cool, but probably not anything to be particularly worried about, I wouldn't have said. You know. Yeah. Is that more or less what I want to say? I think so. So that's like going anywhere close to the speed of light is a very long way away, I'd have said. Really. And if you think about the sorts of capabilities that we might have in terms of, there's another thing. Back in the 50s, even, they were proposing building craft that could fly at speeds of like Mach 17, which is ridiculous. It's crazy sorts of speeds. And I reckon in the intervening 70 years or so, they certainly would have tried to build that, I think. Build those things. You know. And it's all been kept secret and classified in like black projects and so on. But yeah, we're not anywhere close to going to the speed of light, but I think what we have been capable of building in terms of aircraft and spacecraft, because a lot of the hypersonic stuff is like those are sort of space planes almost. So yeah, and they got incredible speeds, obviously. So yeah, all that stuff's very, very interesting. I think probably more interesting than these ideas of warp drives and things like that. So thank you everyone for watching. Bye bye. I love you lots.